Welcome to another episode of the AlbumReview.net podcast. I'm Greg Potters. This is episode number 99. We are almost at 100. This has been a huge gift, getting the opportunity to share my love of music with you and to share my conversations with the musicians who make a lot of this happen. Some of you may be thinking, how is this a gift? You just open up your laptop and press record and start talking. Well, after writing, producing, recording, editing, releasing, and marketing 99 episodes so far, the gift is being lucky enough to want to wake up every day and keep going. As a podcasting launch coach to other podcasters, believe me, guys, I definitely realize the number of hours it takes to create each and every episode. Although it is very time consuming, I prefer to come up with these ideas on my own and write out each idea before recording. So the willingness and desire to keep going, because so many people don't, I think is the gift. I don't know why I got it, but I feel like I've got it. So I'd also like to take a second to talk about this podcast. Believe it or not, over 50% of the people that listen are not subscribed on their preferred platform. So I encourage you to hit that subscribe button now. This will help me get more of my dream guests to continue entertaining you. For this episode, I welcome back a musician based out of the UK who is currently living in Italy. He was my guest on episode number 34, and he's celebrating the release of his most recent album, 0 Hour Genesis, which dropped back on February 20th of this year, 2026. He plans to release a deluxe edition soon for this album also. So sit back and enjoy my conversation with an incredibly talented artist, Shayan Regan. Let's do this. So I want to talk today about a few things, but mainly your recent album, which came out in February, 20th of February, 0 Hour Genesis. Yes. And then, of course, the upcoming Deluxe Edition, which we can, we can talk about as well. So how's the last year of your life been musically?
Oh, it's very different than the last time. So I want to say, like, I think the album that I did before this, like a proper album that I want to call, like a collection of work, was 2022.
Yep. Poison with an Aftertaste.
Yes.
Yep.
And when I made that record, it was primarily me and like 3 or 4 of my friends virtually, like.
Wow.
And it was a very sort of like a close-knit project, because it started from, the whole tale. Like, it started from like, I just wrote a few songs, and then my friends are like, you should write more. Like, you should put them out. And it was like, okay, let's do it. And then this time around, like in between, from 22 to 2025, late 2024 actually, because I've had this idea. And then at the same time, I like kind of like piece by piece learn how to play instruments, because I wanted to get better at them. And that has like primarily a very selfish reason where so I've got ADHD, and
so do I,
and that gang, and then I I basically
diagnosed in 1986. So yeah, I'm legit. You too.
trademarked.
Yep.
It's so my thing is like if we're chatting, right, and someone comes up and I'm like, okay, I have an idea for a song. I have this thing in my head, and I want like someone to. I come up to you, yo, this is what I have. I want you to do this, this, or this on it because I physically can't. I don't know how to play those instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go up to someone, like one of my friends. Hey, this is the idea that I have. Let's do something. And then that would kind of go into like their own time and their own schedules where they'd be like, okay, I have time in 3 days from now and I'll come back to you in 3 days from now. And I'll just be sitting with it. Now with someone who's ADHD, that doesn't sit very well because
you got to get it out immediately.
Yeah, and because otherwise there's no interest anymore.
Right.
I don't have the same amount of.
It's like surfing. I mean, I'm not a surfer, but I feel like that's the best analogy. You got to ride that wave when it comes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like, you're off time a little and you're eating shit in the water.
Right.
I think, and
that's great. Yeah, yeah. Good way to put it.
3 days later, you'd come up to me and you'd be like, okay, here's what I have. And I'll be like, okay, that's gone.
Yeah.
I'm like over it. It's gone now. So in spite, majorly, I decided that I want to learn how to play instruments. I knew how to play the guitar a little and got better at it. Shifted to like an electric. I love, from an acoustic to an electric, I slowly learned how to play. I got more into like playing keys, obviously, because
nice.
I wanted to have sort of, like if I want to make a song, I want to have like the bones of it in my hand so that I can play around.
Yeah.
And then, as we were saying before, I now know how to play a bass guitar, and I feel like it's such a flex if you can play the bass. Like for me, at least, like if I am so obsessed with the bass guitar that like even sonically, like in this album, there's so much bass work, and I'm so proud to say that I've done it all myself. That whole section.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, I mean, refined and stuff. Obviously, like not in the first take. I'm not that good yet, but like. It's just so much fun. Bass is so much more fun than an acoustic because it's like you get to groove out a little. You know what I mean?
Yep. I agree. The rhythm section is at the heart of everything.
Mate, it's the kind of like I feel like I want to say if not more than at least 70 to 75% of the sonic ideas came from the bass lines for these songs.
Awesome.
Because I'm a hummer. Like that's how it starts for me, right? Like random hums kind of make the song for me, and it would always start down here, like boom, 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 or whatever. Like, and then it just kind of like goes from there. That's where you start for me. Like at least for this record.
So you get ideas from. This was going to be one of my questions later, actually, but so you get ideas from just humming something, and then do you immediately run to your guitar, or do you immediately run to your bass or whatever instrument is nearest to you and then start doing that? Or would you grab your phone and maybe, say it into your phone or record it? Like, how do you start? What's the first? Because you've got 13 tracks on this album, which are all incredibly strong, and I want to go through a few of them. But how do you start that process?
I think mostly I want to say the core of my like the way the song kind of begins for me shifted on its axis for this record, which is why it became kind of like so different than what I used and then, like I said, like majorly because I learned how to play instruments, I wanted to be like, I'm gonna do it, and if it sounds good, okay. If it doesn't, my friends are always there to kind of like help me out and make it sound good.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, so I basically every other way, it doesn't like, it could go, A, B, or C, because I could have a bunch of words, I could have a melody, and then I'm still like kind of, in the middle of like, gotten better now to speak for myself, but like when you have a melody, like I used to struggle with, like I have a melody for a song, what chords would really, really go with this?
Right.
Like like you can have something that kind of goes with it, and then something that kind of kills, like in just 4 chords with the melody that you have. But so sometimes it'd be okay. I have this guitar line, and that I've hummed, that I've just like hummed all day, and I haven't recorded it for some reason. I don't know why. And then I would come into the studio, do it, see how it sounds, and then kind of like starts from there. Slight changes, this and that. It kind of gets into the song or whatever it becomes. But most of the times it would be like, at least for this record, it was more like I had written down a lot of concepts because
Okay.
you know, like when we get into the story of this record, it's very like much like the previous record. I did have a concept to kind of write this off of. I did have a very sort of detailed, I I want to say, theme that kind of like drove this album and still kind of like drives this entire project. Like there's more that I'm trying to do in this, and it really is a mix of like maybe this is gonna go well with the words that I wrote like 3 days ago. Maybe this is gonna, you know, maybe this is gonna hold the melody together better than the so and so that I made a week ago.
Right.
And a lot of it, you know, was a mix and match of those things. And then it kind of like you have these demos or you have these like literally just like voice notes over text to my friends and be like, okay, I'm literally in the studio and this is what I'm doing, what you think? And my problem is that I come up with something right off the bat I want to show all of my friends.
Hmm.
Like I don't have the mysterious, secretive angle that like, okay, the song is done, now you can hear it. Come
Right.
up with 4 chords, 4 lines. I'm like, yo, do you think this is good? Or am I, you know, do you think this is shit? Like, I
So you
just
do
need to
that so
know
they can
before.
add it. They can maybe add something to it, like, hey, maybe try. So this is great. If I'm getting at the right
Uh-huh.
thing, like you look for maybe some feedback and you're
Uh-huh.
not stuck in this world where it's like, well, it's my way or the highway. Like you're looking for feedback. Somebody might give you some insight into something and then you might take it or leave it. But either way, you want to get
Yeah.
other people's feedback. That's great to hear. That's some
I think,
writers are
I
like,
think,
no, this is the way I'm doing it. And
I
this is
get that way too. Yeah, no, I do really, really get that way. But
Mm.
like I said, like this record or this sort of route that I took, kind of, um, I guess, like subconsciously trying to change that.
Okay.
'Cause, like before this, I get into like, okay, I wrote the song. This is the melody. This is what I want it to sound like.
Right.
But this time around, it was like I have a vision. I have like this empty box that I want to fill with certain things. You bring the things to me and we can see if they fit the box. I don't have to always handpick everything that goes into this.
Okay.
If you come up with something that's good or that like just kind of like blows me away, and I've been so blessed to have so insanely talented friends, both in Italy and London,
Mm.
that I have been, you know, in touch with them. I've had them kind of like play around on these songs. I've been there just literally just in awe, just watching them do their thing. And sometimes, yeah, all the time, really, I'm blown away. I'm sorry, I'm burping. I just had sparkling water, and then it just kind of feels. It felt, and now I'm used to it. In the past year or two, it felt new, and it felt a little jarring at first. Where it was like, oh, but that's not my vision. That's not what it had in my head.
Hmm.
You're playing it. You're playing really good, but that's not what I had in my head. That's not what I heard. But then eventually you kind of like lean into it and
Right.
you realize, okay, you know, like this is actually better than what I had in my head,
Right, right. You bring up a
you
good
know?
point, Shan. Like sometimes
Yeah.
you get taken in a certain direction and you weren't
Oh,
expecting
yeah.
to go in that direction. But that's where, you know, I want to make sure I preface this statement with I'm not against improvisational music, but the beauty a
Right.
lot of times that I get into conversations or debates with people about improvisational music is you're really
Yeah.
letting the music. And so, although you're not recording these like 15-minute jams like a Grateful Dead
Right.
song, in a way that kind of is improvisation
Bangers, by the way.
because you sit you sit down with an idea but then another thing takes you in a different direction and you just follow that, so in many ways that is
1000%.
that is improvisation. So I think sometimes when people say they don't really like improvising, I think that they're sort of misguided when they're with the definition of improvisation, right? We don't want these
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
structures
Yeah. I
all the
think
time, right?
Yeah,
Maybe sometimes.
improv, like the very nature of improv is that, you know, you're kind of like water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean,
Everything
actually.
is just you're a water body, and you're gonna go through creeks, you're gonna slip through rocks, you're gonna get stuck in sand, but still kind of find your way through.
Right.
But as long as you stay that, as long as you stay a water body, metaphorically speaking, you're gonna pave your way through it.
Yeah.
And eventually, if you let your music kind of be that sort of like liquid form of, sound waves, if you want to put it like in a psychedelic,
Yeah.
druggy kind of way, then I think that really, I mean, improv in music, in my opinion, is the very, like, the poetic way of saying let the music take over. That's the literal way of saying let the music take over.
Exactly. Yeah. And it is one of
Like,
the most
just,
beautiful things on the planet. And it sounds
oh,
very,
yeah.
you said it a moment ago in another word, like it does sound very hippie or hippy dippy or whatever, but
Yeah.
it really is true. And you can't really understand it until you are in it and experience it. And it could be the
Oh,
same
yeah.
in if you're a football player and you think you have this certain grit or drive, but you're not really sure that you can, kick the ball as far as.
I connected a dot just now. Like a couple months ago, I got into swimming, right?
Mhm. Nice.
And then I knew how to swim back from school and stuff, like a little bit, but like kind of getting more into it. Like the very fundamental basic is like you need to relax in the water.
Hmm.
It's gonna punish you if you're too stern,
Yeah.
but it's gonna kind of like take you with it if you're relaxed. Now, if you kind of switch out the water for music, because I used to be that way, right? And I think like somewhere in my head, that's how it kind of changed for me as well, musically as well. That I used to be that way. Okay, this is the song. This is what I wrote. I would actually argue over a single line melody or a single word as well. That I want it this way. Like this is how I exactly want it. That's how I made the last record, the first record I made. Everything was single-handedly written by me,
Hmm.
and like I would just like send it out to friends, and someone would be like, "Okay, this could be this way, this could be this way," and I'd be like, "Okay, I'll think about it." And then in my head, I was like, "Okay, no, I'm not changing that because that's
Right,
how I
right,
wrote it."
right,
You
right,
know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like you can tell me that, but that's not going to happen. And but this time around, it was very different than that. And one of my friends, her name's Jen. She's incredible. And throughout this entire sort of me kind of like coming up with these songs and stuff, um, I would just like text her and be like, "Yo, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing." And for me, visual cues are like a big thing. So she would literally
Totally.
go on Pinterest, bring up like just what she thinks this song makes her think of, send those photos literally to me over text, and I would see them, and I'd be like, and this really happened with like I sent her titles, right? I sent her
Wow.
song titles, like random titles that I had in my head, and she was like, "This is what that makes me think of." Kind of made like a mood board of sort of things, and that to me visually helped a lot in
Hmm.
shaping this album, and like
Really
so
interesting.
yeah, like it was like a bunch of just random mood board of like spacey shit, if I want to put it like very casually.
Yeah.
And then I just put all of that in front of me, and it shaped a lot of like sonic elements of the album for me. Because like, let's put it this way, I knew what I wanted to make, and I had a lot of like jargon of things,
Hmm.
and then that entire mood board that like she single-handedly provided gave me ideas to, like what to pick and choose from all the like the mix of stuff that I had. I knew my influences. I knew what I wanted it to sound like. Like there was Bowie in there, there was Fleetwood in there was Pink Floyd, there was Tame Impala. There was so much like just so much classic rock that I listened to. There was Rush, there was Queen, there was Elton, everywhere Beatles. There's so much in there that I wanted to do, but then I wanted it to be like not them. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, I do.
I
I know
just didn't want
exactly
it
what you
to be.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't want it to be like, oh, this sounds like
Right.
a that song. This sounds
Right.
like a that song.
This is an Oasis ripoff.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right.
And
Right.
then I saw that when I see these visual cues, like I found it in myself that kind of gives these songs or this sound this identity that I couldn't actually visualize, and now it's like it's made my work easier.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And like, I could go deeper into this with me saying, oh, my inspiration came from so and so and so and so and so. The only source of inspiration that I came up with was that love equals space, and and vice versa. And that's the main theme of this record, because like both those things are endless. Both those things are just grand. And there is so much that we know about both those things, and there's so much that we don't.
Do not. Yes.
Yeah, and that's the basic of this record for me.
That's amazing, Shan. I wasn't even thinking about that, and you just answered another question of mine. And like, I had a conversation with my wife over dinner the other night, and one of the things came up. She was like, "What's one of the things that scares you, but also fascinates you at the same time?" And I just like one word: space.
Oh yeah, yeah. I relate to that so much.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Just like a random space fact can keep me up the whole night.
The whole night. And have you ever seen the movie Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey?
Oh yes, and like too many times for comfort.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of, if not the best. And there's a lot of good ones out there, but I think
have you seen the new Ryan Gosling one?
No, I have to see that. I saw the ad.
You will fall in love.
Yes,
you will fall.
Tell me about I want to break down like your recording setup. I'm always fascinated as a fellow musician as well, and just with all my podcast equipment. So you get an idea, and then you say you go into the studio. So are you actually going to like the old days, going to a physical studio? Do you want to get out of your house, or do you have equipment at home at the tip of your fingers, or is it both?
I've been very blessed in the past few years working into music the way that I do. Like I make custom songs for people, which kind of keeps the ball rolling. Nice. And it's been a blessing that I've been able to kind of like make this room into a studio setup at my home.
Cool.
So
nice.
We started from the phone and headphones, man. That's where we began.
Yeah.
And we've come a long way to have like this decent enough studio setup that so the original thought for this record, actually, like the very first song on this record is the very first song that I wrote in this entire project. The 0 Hour Lunar Phase, the very first song that I wrote. Yeah. When I wrote that song, I initially wanted this to be like an in-house production, like the entire thing. I didn't want anyone included. I don't know why. Again, I no clue why. But then as I was making these songs, I realized I had like so many people who would really kill, what I wanted this to sound like.
Right.
So I reached out 1, 2, 5, and then just I think in total like 12 or 13 people are like more or less the entire team that worked on this whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Stardust scattered on my shoes, trading secrets with Neptune. Moon melt clocks are melting slow. Neon supernova glow. Lava lamps with silver teeth. A cosmic string symphony. Float through the holes in the sky. Your shadows made of time. I wake up in a haze. Love dripping in lemon mist. In the echoes of kaleidoscope waves. 0 Hour lunar phase. Nebula drip on my tongue.
So for me, it started from that song, and then I wanted it to be like, okay, I'm just going to do it all here, like home studio, just by myself. And then as you progress, you realize there's a lot that, like, obviously people can do better than me. So I reached out, and then with my friends in London, my friends in Florence, they hopped on, both in person and virtually, and through text and through voice notes and through constant, like, just me overnight on a Zoom session, just eating their brains out about, like, oh, this is what happened. I'm a nerd at heart. Like, I just want to geek out about, like, the stuff that I read about space that I can relate in love and in relationships and stuff. And then that to me became my sort of like identity, to a point where it was annoying to everyone in my family, everyone in my life. Like, it is, and I can see that now. Like, right in this moment, I've like slowed my roll a little, because life, other things to do.
Sure.
But then now I've realized how much into it I was and how annoying I was to my friends and family. Yo, check this out. Okay, you remember the thing I showed you 2 weeks ago? Obviously they don't. They're not into this as much as you are.
Right.
They do not remember a random voice note you sent them 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So then, oh, you don't? Let me, jog your memory.
Right.
Tell them the whole story again. and then this is what it's become now. And they're like, okay, cool. Like, do you want to do this by yourself? I'm like, no, you're included. Let's tell you everything. They don't want to hear it, but I'm telling them everything. and then I mean, again, we're derailing, but to answer your question, now the studio setup is, slowly expanding as I need it. But
what do you use?
Now,
What's your? I mean, I use a very basic software program, and I think it sounds excellent. What kind of stuff do you use? What do you like?
I use Logic,
Nice.
majorly for like the music stuff.
Great.
But then I still use BandLab for vocals.
Nice.
Because
You used that on your last album, I remember.
Yes, because I kind of like learned the basics of production.
Yeah.
On that software.
Cool.
And then for me, I just haven't been able to let it go, because it's so easy to me. Because I've spent years into this, so I don't want to reset into a new workstation.
Right.
So when it came to recording music, I started using Logic, and I was like, okay, this is, familiarized myself with that. So now I use those two. Like, I take a song from making the music and stuff and blah blah blah, take it to BandLab, kind of record vocals, track some stuff, take it back to Logic if I want to change it. So it's like a back and forth between those two, workstation wise. And then plus, BandLab's free, right.
you become obsessed with the dials and the controls, and when I discovered, I had really shitty vocals on one of my tracks one day, and then someone was like, Greg, you're forgetting, just put some reverb on there. And I don't know your opinion about that, but sometimes reverb and a little bit of echo can just solve so many problems.
1000%, 1000%.
And go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. Many. So there's, if I were to break down and show you the amount of takes on guitars and stuff, vocals I'm a little more confident about. I can deal with them, retakes and stuff. On guitars, especially if
it's harder to add in.
Yeah,
that's harder to add in or fill in.
Yes, but what I've done is a very cleverly taken multiple takes trying to join them together, and then what really hides your mistakes is a good amount of delay and echo and reverb.
Right.
You just don't hear it. And I'm like, okay, well, if I can't hear it, I don't care about anybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Now, you talked about Jen, and then you also have Roger. Is Roger mainly just Does he help Roger Moreno? Am I pronouncing his last name
Roger,
right? Yeah,
yes, Roger Alexander, Roger Marino. He's
Marino.
Jen's husband
Jen's
now.
husband. Okay,
They
and
recently got
they recently
married.
got
Shout
married.
out
Nice.
to both of
Now,
them.
did they
Yes.
get married because they met working with Shayan?
No, no, no,
Okay.
no, no. That would be a
Are
fucking
you
story.
responsible for their marriage?
No, they're just the loveliest people. I
Nice.
really owe so much to off this record to Jen. I can talk about this all day.
Yeah.
Roger is a musician himself, incredible musician, and so obviously I start, I find out that he's a musician. I find out that Roger exists because of Jen, obviously, because I'm
Right.
friends with Jen.
Yeah.
And then we start talking and stuff and this and that. And he wrote he wrote a bridge for the opening song of this album.
Okay. Yep.
And then it kind of shifted a little bit and this and that. But he's in the songwriter's credit for it because he gave me that very direction I wanted the bridge to go in. I didn't know where to go with it. But then, you kind of hear it from someone and you're just over a voice note, really. Over a voice note. He goes, oh, how about this? And I'm like, holy, that's it.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow. Very cool.
And he is incredible. He's absolutely incredible. And so we kind of go back and forth with hey, this is what I'm making. He's like, hey, this is what I've been doing, this and that. And I think for me, if my friends are doing what I'm doing, which is making music, it just gives me so much joy. I get overly excited because it's kind of yo, I know what you're doing. I know how that feels, I don't know if you feel it as much as me, but I know how that feels, and I'm so excited and over the top that you're doing it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It fills me up with so much pride, and I was just I just want you to do this all the time, and I just want to sit and listen. I just want to sit and just
Shayan,
exist.
you're inspiring me to take a minor tangent because I've discovered something, and this is just me, and if it doesn't relate to you, then, but being fellow ADHD sufferers, I realize for me that I am subconsciously addicted to dopamine hits. And that might sound bad, but but from that, it's when you hear people say things like, I found my people, I was really unhappy living in XYZ town, and then I moved to ABC town and I found my people. And I was like, oh, what, when people say that, I'm like, tell me about these people. And it's usually like-minded people. Now, I want to live in a world of diversity where not everybody's thinking the same thing as I am. But you brought up a great point just now, when Jen or Roger have an idea that, and they share it with you, and you guys either realize you're on the same wavelength or you come to that later on, or maybe you were the whole time, you're literally communicating with your people, and it gives you this dopamine
1,000%.
hit, right? It gives you this dopamine
1,000%.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's when that goes away, when you're alone riding your bike, or maybe you're at the gym, or maybe you're on your laptop doing something else, you start to think about that moment and you crave that again and again.
Oh yeah. Oh, really?
Right?
So it was coming back to Jen, it was an everyday thing where she's in America, there's a time zone difference.
Sure.
So what happens is I'll send her stuff. It's not an appropriate time for her to look at. When she looks at it, I'm either asleep, not on my phone, etc. And then what happens is then when I get up, I will have her reaction on something that I sent last night.
Right.
And then it would be obviously there's been time between last night and this morning that I've slept, and I've kind of gone away from the whole thing that I made last night. But she pulls me right back into it with a reaction.
Right back in. That's the first thing you look at in the morning, maybe, and then you're right back in it. Yep.
Yeah, right away. And then it's kind of I'm just having a tea, or I'm just not in studio, and I just see that text, I read it, she sent me stuff like this. So this is how a usual conversation goes. In between, me making songs, I send her stuff, a demo, just me on the keys and stuff. She tells me how she feels. She usually gives me visual cues, this is what it makes me think of. I'm like, oh, you know what, you're right. This is what it makes me think of as well. I just couldn't see it before you actually showed it to me.
Yeah.
So the visuals of this record, really, after I had the sound, she gave me the picture. And then it just went from there. And I was just like, that all of that credit goes to her. Safe to say that the record won't sound probably close to anything that it is right now if it weren't for Jen.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
can
that's really,
say that like the loudest lungs, yeah.
that's awesome. And I see you give her a bunch of song credits. One that it looks like you did on your own, which is, so it's hard for me to single out my favorites, but I have to say, after listening to your album several times, I
Thank you
mean,
so
there's
much.
0 Hour Lunar Phase, right? But which I love. And that's the one that I've decided when I introduce your album to people, that's the one that I start with. I kind of read the room and I'm like, okay, they would like this more. But for me, I like all of the tracks. Pink Mars and Lost and Found stuck out to me. Now I always go, not always,
Thank you
but
so much.
more often, you're welcome. More often than not, I go to the last song on an album first, and it's easier nowadays in electronic world, but like in the old days of a tape or a record, it was, I guess you could do it, but like with the tape, it was, I grew up pretty much
Yeah.
records were very popular, but tapes were the thing. And then CDs came around in the early 90s where they were more common. Anyways, I go to the last song, and have been now for 30 years. And because a lot of times I think that could be a
That's actually
potential
such a smart,
hidden
that's
gem.
so unique and like so smart.
Well,
to me.
very
Yeah.
creative people, Shan, sometimes will put one of their better songs. And again, this is all opinion. But my opinion is that's one of your better songs for a whole host of different reasons. But I love how that's last. And it kind of is like, how many times have you gotten, this might be a bad analogy, but you get a video sent to you by a friend on social media and they say, wait till the end. Because they know you might not, you might not wait through a 4-minute video.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait till the end, right? And so
Yeah.
just sometimes I think to myself, let's see what they put at the end, and does it bookend the album? So I guess we'll talk about Lost and Found. Tell me a little bit more about how you wrote and recorded that song.
Yeah. So I want to put it into the way it came to me.
Okay.
The
Please.
theme of the record. I guess, I mean, the cat's out of the bag. It's a 3-parter for me.
Right.
From in my head so far.
Okay.
And this is the first sort of record in that project. Again, a prequel to this record was an EP that I put out, which both served as a theme transition and a sonic transition from me making acoustic music to this like a fuller sound, like a more produced sound. And the narrative is that there's a guy who falls in love with the moon. That EP is called Selene, and the very first song on this is Eos, which is, the goddess of sun, and it's kind of like just the whole, a friend of mine, his name's Tyler, I go up to him, I'm like, yo, this is what I have, and he's the same as me, he gets super excited, and we freak out on stuff that we come up with together over text most of the times, or over the phone. So I go up to him and I go, this is what I have in my head, and like I want to make this like a transitional sound. I don't want to drop an album that's entirely different than the first one and be like, this is what I do now. I want it to make sense. I want to make a project that kind of takes you from the ground into space. I want to have that sort of journey sonically as well before we get fully into space, like traditional space album, if you want to call it. And then he was just as excited about it, and he was like, "Oh, this is how you should do it, this is how you should do it," and stuff like that. And then overnight, Tyler and I brainstormed the Selene project, and then I was like, "That's it. I'm gonna get writing songs about it." So it goes from a guy calling, sitting at dawn, asking, again, Eos to be like, "Yo, when you come back around, or like, by the end of this day, like when you're coming down again, find me someone to love. Like I'm alone, I'm lonely." And then the day passes by the end of that song, again, metaphorically speaking or whatever, like in the story of things. The second track on it is called Luna, which is again, the moon, which is the first time he sees the moon in this way, in this fascinating sort of like, okay, wow kind of way, like time stops for him, etc., etc., etc. Now the moon is metaphorically either a woman, an entity, anything you want to put it, like that's open to interpretation. I didn't want it to be like, oh, this is like particularly, this is what I want you to know. This is what I want you to think. And then the third track on that is called Magnetica, where it starts to get a little bit more produced and electronic instead of acoustic, because I wanted it to have like a magnetic pull. So Magnetica is a nickname that you give to the moon again. Now this guy's being pulled towards the moon into fascination, and it's slowly turning into obsession. It's getting a little unhealthy, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
The thoughts on that record. I'm trying to pace this through so I can get to the album.
Yeah.
The fourth song is called Drift, which is kind of like the journey from, like, the liftoff. It's kind of like a groovy, kind of like a vibe, which is the liftoff, where this guy kind of like starts floating, starts drifting towards the moon. The final track is Perigee, which is, again, the closest the Earth gets to the orbit of the moon. The closer the moon gets to the orbit of the sun, of the Earth. And in that song comes a plot twist where by the end of that song, he kind of gets knocked off course, which is where it gets into 0 Hour Lunar Phase, which is like a hard reset about, oh, you were going to meet the moon and now you're like knocked off course into some other part of space. And that's kind of like that song where it's like you're just hyper driving into stuff where, what happened? I was just so close to the moon, I just pulled into somewhere else, and it's just like you get into this whole entire world, which is where the theme love equals space, love being endless and unknown and beautiful but terrifying, but impossible to fully map the whole thing at the same time. And that's where it gets into that zone and enters the album. And Lost and Found really, you know, I don't think it was intended to be like a closer, but it became the closer based on just the one line that came to my head when it, like in the bridge, where it's like, when matter dreams of meaning, it implodes. Because that to me is like, as soon as you realize that, everything's an experience, us being here really is pointless in the end if we're holding on to things. Like, you start holding on to stuff, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, and like, it really takes a second to let it all go, because you never know when it's your time, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then when that hit me again recently in life with everything that's happened, that you never really know when it's your time. Right. And everything's an experience, and you should enjoy it to the fullest. And that to decode that line, that when matter was, we start dreaming of meaning, like, okay, we actually are something, we start imploding. Everything just start like collateralizing in on itself and just giving you barely any room to expand, and you realize, right. So that line made it like, I want it to be drifting away into a Pink Floyd-y, Coldplay sort of vibe with that track, and then that's why it became the closer for like the album closer, at least the standard edition for this one. Yeah. Initially there was this song called Weightless that I wrote that probably will kind of make it on the deluxe
On the
edition.
deluxe, okay.
Yeah, which was going to be the original, like the last song of this album. But then when I finished this one, I was like, I literally got obsessed with that line for like 2 days.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, because I personally feel like sometimes, and I know it might get a little mystic, but sometimes you kind of channel things that not really are that aren't your, but you're channeling them out in your craft. Like you write a song sometimes. By the end of it, at least this happens to me, I look at it and I go, I don't feel like I wrote it. It just kind of like got channeled through.
Right. Yeah.
Now you want to put your belief into a higher power. You want to put your belief into a god. You want to put your belief into the cosmos. You can put it anywhere, but I feel like sometimes it just you just become this outlet that it's getting channeled into catching a frequency of sorts.
It's a perfect analysis, or excuse me, analogy for improvisation, but also
1000%.
letting things take you, and it could apply to anything really. You know, it's like you're nervous about something in life. Go out there and, you know, as long as you're not, I always tell my kids, as long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else,
you're
go
good.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, 1000%. I feel like again, again, this might come a little edgy, but like, if you didn't die, I think you'll go through
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know,
It is
like
a little
you'll
edgy, but I know
sleep.
what you mean, right? Because you have
You
to,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you have to do some risk analysis, and some of us do, like myself,
yeah.
I do a little bit more than I should, but I get your point,
I mean, yeah,
so
there's cushioning involved, but like in the end of at the end of the day, if you made it through, then it was worth it. Like, if it
exactly
didn't cut your journey short, then keep walking. You know what I
right,
mean?
because we
Like,
never
if there
do
was a
really know
roadblock.
when our time is up,
Exactly.
and the older I get, the more that rings in my head every single day. You know,
Oh yeah.
Shan, you mentioned something to me earlier that I wanted to touch upon because I think it's a
Mm.
crime that you haven't been playing many live shows or any live shows. So, because if I were to come visit you, you'd be playing a freaking live
Uh,
show in front of me.
I mean,
So,
yeah.
but like is there a motivation in the future to kind of put some musicians together and get a band and start playing some of these
To me,
songs?
I'll be very honest with you. There is absolutely nothing that I've thought of that because I feel like I don't know when it happened, but like making music kind of got from, oh, I really want to do this to like appeal to someone.
Hmm.
It went from there to I just want to do it because I want to do it. And I always tell my friends like, if you with what I make, that's all I need.
Right.
I don't need a bunch of people to be like, okay, we don't know you, but we really like your music, and that's why I don't do short form content for instance. I don't go on social medias posting reels and like, okay, let's listen to me.
Hmm.
First of all, I don't really put myself on a high pedestal like that. Like, okay, just let's focus on me for like 40 minutes.
Right. I can
You want to
respect
do
that.
it,
Yeah.
you know what? You can do it if you want to.
Yeah.
Like, I really want it. I really like. I genuinely just want the music to exist because I want it to exist.
Yeah.
Like, there's no ulterior motives. Like we were talking about Lost and Found. Like it's, a lot of this album looks at love through gravity and planets and
Right.
like this cosmic scale. But like, song in particular kind of pulls you back to the ground, to the less of the outer space sort of spectacle and the human aftermath, but still being in that cosmic sort of outer space just scenario. Like it's about like you're feeling scattered and then you're just finding pieces of yourself. It can be through another person, through another experience, through just a memory, through your own experiences, through your own memories, etc., etc. It's about this really unusual comfort of like being found, no pun intended, in something that also makes you like feel lost, like being lost in something that's familiar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Now, but are these like Lost and Found or any of these other songs? Could you see yourself reaching over to your acoustic guitar and playing one of these, you know, kind of stripped down, you know, without some of the studio effects, like just playing one of these songs on an acoustic guitar in a room, either by yourself or with a friend?
I think, I I want to say, if not all, but like most of them start acoustic for me.
Okay.
Obviously, because
that
I
would be
can't play everything at
interesting.
once.
That would be interesting to me. Like, I'd love to hear. I like to hear a song that has so much power from a studio recording, but I also like to hear, when MTV in the early 90s started
Oh, the
doing those
unplugged.
unplugs,
Love.
it was a whole new world, and it was like, and then it caught on, and these bands were like, hey, we can make, this is a different avenue, but like we can make money off of these. It's pretty much
Oh yeah,
hearing these songs, but in a completely different
made the
format.
Kurt Cobain one.
And right, that's the first thing that popped in my head, but there's so many other ones as well. But it's like those are so to strip down your music. I have some songs that I've written and recorded, and I can't really figure out how to strip them down because I put
Right,
so much into it in the studio. But then there are others where I wrote them first on an acoustic
right.
guitar, right? It was just me and an acoustic guitar, and that was it. And then went into a studio and, had actually a producer help me add more things to it. So, but you are saying that you could do that if you ever wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever get the desire, or are you ever sitting there one day and you're like, I have one of my own songs running through my head, and you just grab your guitar and play it?
So a friend of mine, his name's Ashton, who worked on a song called Callisto's Odyssey with me, and he made this like slightly more like an unplugged version of that song with the same vocals that I had in the song, and then he was like, "How about this?" Like it was very sort of like a loungy vibe. I was like, "Cool, really cool." And then we were just like, fucking around, and I start playing. There's a song called "You're So Uninviting" on the record, which shout out to Molly Coleman, great friend, amazing musician, incredible vocalist, so gracious to be part of that song. If she ever hears it, I absolutely love you, Molly. So I started playing that on just the electric, and then he was like, "Yo, this is good. You should record it and throw it on YouTube." I was like, "No one's gonna give a shit about it." He's like, "Do you care?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Okay, then let's do it." And then I actually did it. So the only acoustic version of this record is that exists on the internet is the "You're So Uninviting" thing that I did on my YouTube, and I think Instagram as well. Sometimes I let my friends decide and take decisions in my life. They're not usually something I agree with, but it's kind of like, okay, you know better about these things than I do, so let's do it. And I did that, and then the initial thought was to like maybe do so. I love the Ed Sheeran approach, if you will. I think it's him who said this or somebody else, and I've been a lifelong fan of Ed, but like. Maybe someone else said it, or maybe him, that if a song plays well on an acoustic, it's a good song. Like, you don't have to, if the bones of the song are good, if it plays good on an acoustic, you can take it anywhere.
Yeah.
And I love that. I did an acoustic version of one of the songs on Celine as well, with my friend Morgan. She goes by Cove on like her artist name. I just outed her. But much love, big love. She's incredible as well. I'm just here to just boast about my friends, by the way. This is not about me. It's all about my friends. And then we did one of the versions of that. And then for this record, I did a version like an acoustic, if you want. Not an acoustic, like an unplugged version. It was an electric on You're So Uninviting, which is, I believe, the fourth track on the album. But yeah, to answer your question, I think most of them started with the keys. Because when I'm figuring stuff out, it's usually like, playing it with one hand, the other hand's recording a voice note, sending it to my friends, like, what do you think about this? Like, can we do something with this? I have this idea, I have this idea. So it's like just me, not even playing root notes, just me playing the chords, because I've just only got one hand free. And then I'm just like sitting and sending it to them, and then once I'm done with like me oversharing everything, I kind of sit with the song again. I'm like, okay, this is where it goes, and then I pick up a bass, and then I pick up a guitar, etc., etc., etc. But mostly, I think all of these songs eventually can be played acoustic.
Yeah, cool.
Apart from, I want to say Spaceship LUV. That'd be too fast.
That might be a little, yeah. I can see how that would be a little difficult. Well, there's an idea for your next record. after
There you
the
go.
deluxe edition, right? And I'll be the first one in line pre-ordering that thing.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that's my jam. So with the deluxe edition, how much, I know we were going to talk about that, but I know it's still maybe somewhat in the works. Are you still
Yes,
planning on putting out a deluxe edition? Or is that
I
still
am, because
something you're
there's
debating?
a bunch of things that were like kind of left unsaid on
Okay. It's
what I want,
never a
and I
bad
wanted
thing.
to, yeah, I wanted to expand this. So I want to call it, no pun intended, the universe.
Mm,
I wanted to expand it. So there's a lot of fictional shit that I've come up with for this
mm.
record. Some of it is mentioned in this. I mean, it's mostly fictional. You don't have a life on Mars, So, but still, there is a song that's
Well,
just about living on Mars.
tell that to some
And
people. Elon Musk, he's trying to
oh,
trying to
fuck's
put people
sake.
up there. Um,
And
so
then
go ahead, sorry.
Callisto's Odyssey, that's a character that I'm trying to come back around with. There's a song that I wrote called Life on Somewhen, which is a play on somewhere, but it's just like life on somewhen instead of where. And it's spelled a little weirdly as well to make it sound like a no shit, which is like
I like
instead
that.
of somewhen, it's spelled Sumuen. That's one of the songs I'll send
I
it
like
over
that.
to you later.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's about, you know, me moving to a new place in my life and kind of like taking that into the space. All of these songs, to be honest, have a real life alternative theme that I've just like kind of coated into spacey shit to, you know, not overshare in terms of like what I'm talking about.
Right.
Velvet dust above the dome. Our pretty little island home. Martians don't use iPhones. No bluebirds or rolling stones. Life on Mars. What's it like on Mars? It's so much better than ours. Oh, life on Mars. What's it like on Mars? It's so much better than ours. Life on Mars. Well, I hope that those pink clouds don't change soon as you try to turn on your mind. Every soul that I smell here's my last. I think I wanna stay. Life on Mars. What's it like on Mars? It's so much better than ours. Life on Mars. Life on Mars. What's it like on Mars? It's so much better than ours. Life on Mars.
So, I mean, really, all of these songs have like a human feeling attached to it, which is what I wanted to do, especially like when I started making this record. And then there's this song called Mercury in Retrograde,
Dude, these names
Um,
are awesome. Seriously.
where, thank you,
I mean,
that song genuinely is just about not obviously like taking the whole retrograde phenomenon, but basing it on being in a relationship with someone that feels mystic and new and alluring and sort of like wowed. But what's happening is that it's slowly ruining you, but you don't realize it until it's too late. Because people are obsessed with retrograde, like in general. Like everyone's like, oh, Mercury's in retrograde, everything's gonna go bad. But it's kind of like, if you take that and make it a person, if that makes sense. Like not just Mercury the planet, but like a Mercury that's in retrograde. That's the personality of the person, if you want to call it that. Because I wanted this whole thing to feel cosmic, but like still human. I wanted it to be not just like cinematic or cold or like generic space album. If I want to, I don't know if I'm saying it right. I mean, it took me years to kind of conceptualize this thing. At the same time, learning how to play and learning how to make it into what it is right now. And then I have a song that I wrote about my nephew who is on the spectrum. It's one of the, to me I'm calling it the Eternals ballad. I haven't like fully finished that song, but I will be able to show it to you hopefully very, very soon.
Cool.
And that there's a bunch of things that I wanted it to have, that kind of land into the same sonic spectrum of this album that I want to put onto the Deluxe Edition. I want to tag it and then go on to the next bit.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some of the listeners, I just quickly wanted to share this. So you've been talking about Mercury retrograde. Retrograde simply means moving backward or contrary to a usual direction.
Yes. Yes.
And obviously a term used in astronomy to describe an optical illusion where planets appear to temporarily move backwards across the sky. So you clearly have a lot of deep meaning, right? So you single yourself out, whether you're doing this deliberately or not. I think it's not deliberate, but you're singling yourself out from a lot of musicians that I listen or read or hear where they're writing about, boobs. They're writing about cars, right? And maybe that's a genre thing from the 70s and 80s that isn't around anymore. For better or for worse, but like you clearly have a lot of deep meaning, and the fact that you start your songwriting process, in addition to working with Jen, by looking at a picture or hearing Jen say, "Well, this is what I think about when I hear that part you just sent me." That's very, in a good way, unusual, in my opinion.
To me as well. 1000%. Like I really want to point that out because like it's so different than the last time, and it's so different. Like even making music with people to me has been like so different, and it's so much more fun. Like I did not know. It's so much more fun. Like
because you don't know everything, and it's about like like having a conversation with people. I tend to get a little anxious and borderline, some depression creeps in when I go long periods of time just by myself. Now, every once in a while, I want to go out into the woods and unplug and maybe grab the fishing rod or whatever, or write. But if I go longer than a couple days, then I start to crave human interaction. And because it gives me enthusiasm, motivation, and not just in songwriting, but just in general life living, right? So we've right? Like, so we've talked about life a lot and space and the unknown and just grasping and harnessing these opportunities that we get because we never know when our last day is. I wanted to ask you something. I wanted to ask you like one seriously pointed question. What, as a musician, Shayan, within the last 5 years, what's the most difficult thing you've encountered?
Oh shit. Wow. Okay. I think the cusp of, especially with learning stuff, hitting those blocks, I eventually found my way back to learning always because I'm just like, maybe this is growing up the way it is. I don't ever really sit with my own stuff and be like, yo, what you've made is good. I'm always pointing stuff out. I'm always going like, oh, this could be better. This could be better. I jokingly say this, but I mean it like a lot, at least 80%, that whenever I release stuff, it's like 9 out of 10 times so that I don't go back and tweak it.
Right. Just get it out.
Like, just like, okay, it's out there. Nothing you can do can change anything. Like, just shut up about it. Just do something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And that probably applies to a lot of other things in your life as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, it's a pattern. But like I said, like a lot of this record came from making music with my friends, which is, at least to me, why it doesn't feel as sterile as it would if it were just me. Because I spent around 4 years thinking about this, and then roughly a year and a half like building it out. But while I was building it out, there was 5 brains, 6 brains, and then eventually 12 or 13 brains into the same vision that I had, into this thing. Like, if I were to say, like, okay, I was leading this whole thing, no. What I did was I gave them, like, again, like a box, and I labeled it. I said, this is what I want I want to be in the box, and I'm putting shit in, you're putting shit in, and we're making stuff out of it.
Right.
It's conceptual, the whole record, but like the process was very sort of and playful, and it was so much more fun for me than just, you know, being like cemented to what you're making. And that's initially was one of the difficult the things
Yeah.
kind of get familiar with.
So what I'm decoding here, and it's something that I relate to a lot. If this is evident, and you can be your own worst critic sometimes, your own worst enemy.
Always.
I think that is
The amount of
what
times I
makes-
sabotage myself is crazy.
Well, that's what makes a great musician, in my opinion. That's what makes a great artist. But it can also be a sickness that we have to be careful about and watch, right? And that's why we have
1000%.
loved ones in our lives. You know, we
ground
were
you.
talking early to ground us. We were talking earlier about that dopamine hit. I've realized full on that I crave that, and I am a people pleaser in many ways, and so I watch out for that, and I'm careful of that, and I practice a lot of you know, go at night. I practice a lot of, like, you know, what I'm grateful for, right? And it sounds really
It's so
cheesy.
crazy because I'm hearing you, and I'm just thinking about myself and how I operate in life, because it's like, yeah, that's just so relatable.
So that's we found our people, Shayan, right? Like, we're our like, this is our
How beautiful.
And yeah, and it's, you know, like countless years of me being in corporate sales environments, being around people that I just couldn't see eye to eye with, and I didn't really know why. And I rather than get away from it, I tried to change myself, right? And so later on in life, I guess no regrets now, but I did spend a good decade and a half, almost 2 decades, trying to be that other person, trying to be that bombastic, crazy man on the sales floor. Now I back to my roots and the way I look at things. And so I am also my worst critic in many cases.
Oh yeah.
And what warms my heart is, and I'm sure you've got to admit that you do this a little bit too. Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but I have to say, I have had a few moments, not many, but I've had a few moments where I've put music out, or I've put a podcast out, not a lot, but I've put a couple, and I thought, okay, I'm happy with this. This is good. I like this.
I think I think it happens with me, but it happens only. I'm very, very clear about this. It will only happen with me if there's at least like a second of somebody else involved.
Okay.
Because then I have an edge to throw it on there. Be
Okay.
like, okay.
Yeah,
Even though, like,
that's
say
fair.
I've done the whole thing and someone's just coming in on 2 seconds, I will take those 2 seconds and talk about it for days, because it genuinely
Right.
gives me that joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because here's how I think about it, and this is gonna sound so childish, but look, I made something, I spent time on it.
Yeah.
Somebody else comes in that I really, really admire in what they do. They thought of it worthy enough to give it their time.
Right.
That to me is like the biggest things you could do.
Right there. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or giving your time because you fuck with what I made. Because like no one's gonna do it if they don't like it. No matter if they're your friend or not. If your heart's not in it, even if you're doing it, you're not gonna do it the way you would if
Yeah.
you were into it.
Yeah.
And with what I hear after what they do, or what I hear in their reactions, or what I hear when they talk about it, that gives me that, like, okay, you know, you've pulled it. You've pulled it. You made your friends happy with something that you made.
Yeah.
That's it. That's your Grammy right there.
And as we get older too, it really, things narrow down to really one currency, and it doesn't matter what country you live in. That currency is time. Is it worth
Oh,
the
yes.
time? And when your friends give you
1000%.
their valuable time, because these are probably people that also have jobs and children or whatever. You know, they've got families, and so
They've got a
yeah,
whole
no,
life, yeah. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I'm the only, I'm the main character of my life, not theirs. You know what I mean?
right.
You know what I mean? Like they've got their own shit going on, and they're still making time to do this, and they're still putting effort, and they're still putting just so much attention to this thing, which eventually came from your brain into existence, and then they've taken it and they've turned it into something. Or at least it's a shared universe now at the end of it.
Yep.
Take any song like Galactic, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, this song sounds like so and so and so made this song, and it eventually, like, that's what's going on in my head, and I'm like, I want to change it into something that sounds a little bit more original. Send it to my friends, and then what they're playing, even if they're thinking of playing it like somebody else, like, oh, this is like a very Queen-esque vibe on the guitar, or this is, so the drums should go this way. To me, it comes back, and it's like, again, a subjective thing, and I'm just like, oh, wow, this is so original. Because what's going on in their head isn't going on in mine, and then we kind of like come up with this like shared explanation of what this particular piece or whatever we've done is, and that becomes like the statement of the song. And you know, like in this record, like I love 70s music. There's no doubt about it. You can hear it all over the record. But like, I was not trying to copy that. I was just trying to like borrow the ambition and the dedication and just like the core of the 70s music. Because frankly speaking, not to shit on anybody today, everyone's great, everyone's doing great work. People gave a shit back then making music. They gave a shit. They don't anymore. Not in like the mainstream stuff. Like obviously there's talent, obviously there's people doing it, but
don't
like,
get me started on that. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother podcast we should do. Like, don't get me started on that topic, man.
Yeah, like I just like, I wanted to if I want to be fancy about it, I just want to say that I wanted this album to feel like, you know, looking at classic rock music through a telescope. And that gives you the space element.
Yeah.
You know, that gives you the sonic element. It's just like, you know, you put a telescope out and you're looking at spacey shit, and randomly you see Bowie. Randomly you'll just see Fleetwood Mac. Randomly you'll just see Queen. You'll just see them dancing around in the stars. That's how you see this music. That's how I wanted this album to feel like.
Very cool. To give you some credit as well, I do some work for as a curator for a company based out of France, and artists all around the world send me their music and, you know, ask to review it or critique it or judge it or whatever. And I really try not to be judgy, but occasionally I'll get some stuff, you know, that's really, really good. And in your situation, you know, from one musician to another, you when your circle, your friends, your dear friends and fellow musicians, when they share things back with you, they're doing it because they love you, but they're also doing it because, let's face it, Shan, it's pretty good. So you've got, you've got like, there's a reality, right? I loved playing hockey growing up, but I wasn't very good at it. And I came to a realization, and now I could have kept playing and, you know, enjoyed it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I was like, all right, now it's getting a little serious and I need to make a decision here. Like,
it's a this or that kind of thing.
And it doesn't have to be, music doesn't always have to be a this or that. I never, ever want to discourage someone from stopping to play because, you're no good. Like, I believe that anyone, if they put their minds to it, they can get better, right? With hard work.
Oh, dude. But, I mean, I can give that to myself.
Yeah.
I can look at myself in the mirror and say that 1,000 times in the day.
But you have this, you know, I wasn't listening to what you were playing when you were a kid, but I started playing when I was 12. And you have something in your blood, whether it's physical or mental, so I believe, and not to put you on this pedestal because you're a human being too, but you have the beginning of something that most cases can almost always go somewhere, in my opinion, as a listener.
Very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for saying that. I feel like, again, like I will never take out the fact that this record, or this sort of like direction that I'm taking musically, comes from a very heavy set of influences. Anybody who knows will be able to see.
Sure.
But like, again, like there's like an emotional language that I want it to be very, very original with.
Yeah.
So at least to me, I wanted this record, again, the very theme of it, I didn't want it to be like, okay, just a space album. Like,
Right.
let's just talk about space stuff. I wanted it to have meaning. I wanted it to be something still. Like, it's, of course, like, it's a big record. I can sense that because there's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of music in there. There's a lot happening. I wanted it to be colorful. I wanted it to be romantic. I wanted it to be a little bit unhinged as well. Again, which is literally what love is. Like, that's love.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I don't even have to
So strong,
make
but so
sense.
delicate.
I don't even have to make sense every single time. Like, I could say things and it'll relate to it because love is everything in the end. And when you put it through space, it's a love album disguised as a space record, man.
Yeah,
I'll just
there it
put it
is.
that way.
There's your quote right there.
Yeah, there you go. Like, it's a love album. I just wanted to talk about sappy shit. I just wanted to seem cool about it in the end. That's what I wanted to be.
Well, hey man, you've given me more than I was, thinking or hoping for. So this is amazing. Is there anything else before we wrap up? I'm sure you got to get to your Friday night.
I just no. I mean, I'm just so happy that we got to talk about it. I'm just
said a
happy
lot.
that
Me
that I
too.
get to just let out these feelings verbally as well, because there's so much you can say in a song in the end. Because you've got to seem cool in the end. Like, that's how I always see. Like, when I write a song, I don't want to say everything. I don't think anybody wants to say everything. Even when people like write a song, oh, I'm gonna talk about everything I want to talk about.
Sure.
There's still shit you hold back, and I guess that's why I always come up with sort of like a secondary theme, for what I want to talk about. Like, in this record, it was space. So there's nothing really that I want to say. I just want
It's cool.
the one thing that I have found in my life that I want people to find out in this record, whoever listens to it, to feel the fact that love is bigger than the very, very small ways that we usually talk about love. You know, like, we don't really talk about the grandiose of it. Like, this, it's just not like romance or like
No, we don't.
heartbreak.
No.
Yeah, like, it's just not, like, it's just not bound to that. Like, gravity in itself, obsession in itself, distance in itself, wonder. You've got fear, you've got a lot of memory, you've got a lot of color. It's theatrical, it's visual, it's ambitious, it's messy, it's euphoric, it's delusional, it's obsessive. It's so much that's what I wanted this album to feel like, and I want people to like step into that vastness and realize that you're like only at the very sort of like the beginning of this. Like, this is the first or second step that you've taken. There's a lot more to go. Because I feel like you could be in love with people for 70 years, and then still in the 71st, or like 70 years day one, you find, holy shit, I can love this person more.
Superb adjectives and a superb message. 0 Hour Genesis is Shayan Regan's recent album that was released on the 20th of February in this year, 2026. Find it on any platform where you get your music. And Shayan, I just want to thank you again, man, for you've been a great guest, but you've also been a great friend over the years. And I think you originally found me,
Yes.
which I'm so grateful for. And when I think back to when I started this podcast in 2020, just how many wonderful people, especially musicians I've talked to, but just how many friendships I've developed through the years.
Oh, yeah.
I got my 100th episode coming up soon. So there's a lot of podcasters I know that have, they've been doing it for 6 years, that have a lot more episodes out. I just, I put the pen down when I'm not feeling it. And when I am feeling it, I get up and I immediately sit down and write, or I go to my laptop, or I grab my phone and I start throwing ideas into my phone
that's
and
the
then
way to
email
do
to
it, man.
myself. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
very proud of these episodes, and I did obviously some work beforehand, but these things many times just record themselves, especially with interesting people like yourself, man. So
They do, actually. I mean, it's
yeah.
kind of, you've got to give yourself credit. It's not always like the people that come on.
no, there's a
'Cause, like,
structure. There's
you
a
could-
structure we have to follow.
Yeah, you can deny the fact that, like, you could just be like, okay, hi, you're the guest on the podcast, talk about the album. And then this guy starts talking. That's not how it's done. Like, it's just isn't just decoration, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
mean, I
it's
think
just,
people turn to
yeah.
podcasts for conversation, right? I think a lot of the listeners really are getting a feel for who you are as a musician and as a person.
Eye behind the lens.
Maybe eye behind the lens, but also they're reflecting a little, my hope, this is my hope when I first started this,
Mm.
that they're reflecting a little bit on themselves as well.
Oh yeah,
And
1000%.
right, and that's kind of what I think warms the heart more than anything
I
else.
feel like that's eventually really the goal of consuming any form of media.
Agreed.
You know,
Yeah.
like you don't want to read a book for reading a book.
Yeah, I always apply it to myself. How is this going to, how, like, what can I
Yeah,
learn from this? Okay, I don't work at a billion-dollar oil company or trillion-dollar oil company, but how can I,
yeah.
how can I learn from this? Those are my takeaways when I see something on television or I read an article or I see a video.
Like yeah, like I'm not part of this life, but how does it affect me if I
Yeah.
were?
Or maybe I've chosen that I don't want to have anything to do with that. And that's something I've been working on as well with digital minimalism, where it's a new book I'm reading
Yeah.
right now, where I'm really
Huh.
doing my best, Shan, to choose the media that I consume because it used to be just
Better man than me.
everything and anything was coming at me. And
Better man than me. I get sucked
yeah,
into those rabbit
it's
holes.
hard. It's hard, but I'll be honest. The anxiety just became so overwhelming, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize what was happening. And it was because I was thinking about so many things, and I would become consumed with, like
Oh,
something that was happening over in another country that I had no control over, and it just wasn't productive anymore. So,
yeah.
so
I mean,
it's another conversation to have as well. But
that is.
I like being in that world, and music really puts me in that world. And the fact that you've got so much thought behind all of your songs, you really take steps with intention. And a lot of times you allow your music to guide you to where maybe what you intended doesn't take you in that direction, but that
Mm.
can't happen without you sitting down and starting that process. So in my opinion, that is intention.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to hold the thread in the end of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like you, again, if you're floating in some, again, if you're surfing, they'll have a surfboard
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
you can't be surfing on the waves but without it. You have to have something to hold on to. And
Yeah.
that's what you want to hold on to when you do these things. Like
Yeah.
so there's a core always. There's always
Yeah.
been a core. Like you've always got something that you want to. Like, if I were to like again put it into one term, it's love equals space. That's what I wanted this record to be. There's nothing on this album or on this project that takes you out of that element. Again, it's a love record. You will hear about love and other sides of it, sad, happy, all of those things. But like, still, it's love because everything is love in the end. I don't believe any other way. Like, the very reason you hate someone is because you love them somehow.
That's a great
It's a
point.
form of love.
Yeah.
It's a form of love. I don't
Yeah.
believe that there's only hate in, or like you hate one thing because you love another.
Yeah.
There's always love involved.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And I think there's just way too much hate out there right now. I think
Oh, the
more
state of the
than
world's fucked,
any
man.
time in my life, I can't remember a time when there wasn't more hate. Well, listen, I'm going
Hey,
to,
that's a crazy statement. I'm sorry, I just have to say.
eh,
Wow,
I
that just
know.
hit me. That just hit me so hard.
Yeah, I know.
That just
Sorry.
like that.
I
Oh
don't want to,
wow.
I don't want to bum you out.
No, no, no,
But
no,
this
not
has
at
really
all.
been,
Because
this has really been I ask people, and I think I asked you this in our first, I must have, because it was like a go-to, was music an escape for you? It
yes, you
always
did.
was an escape for me to get away from kind of the crazy stuff. And it
Yeah.
still is today. And so instead of grabbing a beer or whatever, and I still have occasional a beer here and there, but like rather than go there, rather than a substance, it sounds so cheeseball, but it is true. It is an escape for me. The music is, but that's my therapy. And this is
Oh,
another form of
1000%.
it.
Writing songs is an outlet for me.
Oh my
Like
God. That's why we do it,
it's
right?
it's the way I make a living at this moment is writing people's emotion into songs. Like, so it's kind of like when I do it for myself, it's all the more meaningful because it's like this is what I feel, not someone off the internet. This is exactly my feelings. And then when it goes around and people are like, okay, this is how I feel as well, then you feel like, okay, I'm not the only one.
You're literally living the
shit,
dream. Like you're literally living the dream. The fact that you do that and you can do that, and
oh man,
so
I've been so blessed. I've been so
yeah,
blessed.
yeah.
I
Well, listen, man,
genuinely,
this has been
yeah.
awesome, and I'm just
Hey, thank you
so
for having me.
grateful.
You are incredible. Take a whole minute and just talk about Greg, and this better make it on the podcast. Back to what I was saying, actually, you mentioned the Pink Floyd thing, and then that somehow, like I said, in the back of my mind, made me lean more towards, before this Pink Floyd was me
Cool.
listening to, like, oh yeah, this music. There's atmosphere in Pink Floyd that I don't want to get too poetic about it, but like there's this atmosphere in Pink
You're
Floyd
opening up some doors. Keep going.
that I didn't breathe in properly before I realized that this is the kind of project that I want to make. And our conversation about, like, okay, let's do a Pink Floyd podcast got me thinking of, like, shit, like let's do Pink Floyd music, and then the world building, the narratives, the acoustic to electric lifts, or like there's a floating groove in almost everything that they have. There's relaxation and there's a cinematic sort of like a build, there's a lot of space, no pun intended, in Pink Floyd music. And that's what I wanted to have in this, and that came from our conversation. Somehow, like I have to credit that conversation, because I feel like every time I think about, okay, this is why I wanted to make it, I think about our conversation about that.
That's
it's
awesome.
kind of like,
man.
I really just like my own personality really just, like, is bits and pieces of other people telling me shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think everyone lives that way. We're too egoistic to admit it. No one ever comes up with shit. It's always from something. That's how I believe it.
Oh, totally.
You know?
Yeah. We're all influenced by our
We're bouncing off
surroundings.
each other. Yeah.
We're bouncing off each other. I always look at Pink Floyd as a metaphor for life. I'm also a big baseball fan. It's a bigger game in America than it is in most of the world. Well, Japan, and South America. With Pink Floyd, there's listening to the older albums, listening to the Ummagumma, listening to the metal, listening to the Adam Hart Mother. There are moments where I can remember friends and or family members coming into my room going, what the hell is this? It'd be, keyboardist, piano player Rick Wright reaching into his piano and like taking a stick and just like rubbing it up and down, moving it up and down. Literally like random noises that come out of, and then it all of a sudden transitions into the most beautiful, cloudy, just sunset, just absolute blue sky type of sound feeling that you can imagine. And I thought about it one day and I was like, I crave those weird moments in their music, because they almost always bring me to this incredibly beautiful crest of a wave.
Oh yeah. Beautifully put.
That just, and it's about getting through those dark times. And, go listen to several small species of furry animals gathered together in a cave and grooving with a pict. Like, that is the most, that's the craziest. It's not even music. It's just like noises. And then the very next song transitions into something that is just so beautiful. And I just think
I think the very beauty of, again, there are pretty much unlimited ways to make a song sound beautiful, like, there's so many different variations of beauty, if you want to call it that, but mostly in terms of atmosphere and scale, I think, at least in this sort of realm of making music, they're so huge, they're so big, they're hypnotic and floating and sort of like, there's so much air and there's so much space and there's so much distance and there's so much metaphor in just the sound of Pink Floyd. But then there's just so much more human at the same time. And that's the perfect, like, bridge.
Yeah.
Like, it's weightless and it's heavy. It's emotionally absent, yet at the same time mentally overcrowding you.
Yeah.
And that's like, I mean,
it's
again,
life. It's life. You got to wait.
It's life.
When you have those dark moments and you think, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out of this. This is crazy.
Oh,
When I broke my leg in 2022, I was like, am I going to be limping for the rest of my,
is this the end of the life? Yeah.
And then it was like, we get through these things, and love really is the foundation of what brings us through, and having that faith without getting super religious at all, but just having belief that things are going to get better.
Space again, I'd gladly never will. Comes in peace, the UFO, and I believe, 'cause now I know. She comes in peace, the UFO, and I believe, 'cause now I know.
Thank you again for listening to episode number 99 and my conversation with Shayan Regan. I'd like to take another quick second to talk about the podcast. Believe it or not, over 50% of the people that listen are not subscribed on their preferred platform. So I encourage you to hit that subscribe button now. This will help me get more of my dream guests to continue entertaining you. Now, in terms of some takeaways from my conversation with Shayan, can you tell from our talk that Shayan is very humble? To me, he doesn't come across as really going after the spotlight. He's not writing and recording music to be rich and famous one day. He said it himself. He wants to share his ideas and passion for music with his friends. As long as his friends dig his music, then Shayan's happy. Remember, if you're like me and you still enjoy listening to and collecting physical copies of music, go to albumreview.net and pick up a copy of your own. Listen to all my podcast album reviews at albumreview.net. They can also be heard wherever podcasts are available. Please follow the show on your preferred platform so you can get regular updates on new episodes. And also, if you guys would be so kind as to pop a quick review or rate the podcast, this helps move the needle and get the word out there. I do want to hear from you, so please email me your feedback, album review requests, or any questions you might have to gpotters@albumreview.net. That's GPOTTERS @albumreview.net. If you'd like to get regular updates on reviews, interviews, product, and music news, go to the homepage and join the mailing list. Visit our LinkedIn and YouTube pages and stay tuned for updates on Instagram, Facebook, and that thing they call TikTok. You can find me at albumreviewnet. Well, so it's August, the Sunday of summer, in my opinion. September, or otherwise known as Monday morning, will be here soon. So get out there while you can and go see some live music, people. Hit me up on social media and let me know what shows you've gone to this summer and which shows you plan to attend in the fall. And as always, drop the needle and keep listening. Bye.
Take a trip down by the highway. 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 Take a trip down by my highway. Take a trip